So WWE Backlash was the company's first pay-per-view in Puerto Rico in 18 years. Actually, over 18 years was the last time they had a pay-per-view there. Here's hoping they don't wait another 18 to come back. I wish they could do all of their pay-per-views in Puerto Rico. Can we do that? Can we move all of their events, all their PLEs? We just move them to Puerto Rico, the UK, Montreal. Can we do that, please? I can't tell you how fun it was to watch WWE programming over the last two nights, just for the energy and the atmosphere that we got in San Juan. Electric is what it was in the building tonight, as Montreal is for Sami Zayn, as Chicago is for CM Punk. San Juan is for Bad Bunny. And they certainly were tonight in the San Juan street fight that he had with Damian Priest, which, as I said on Twitter when the match was over, it was sports entertainment at its overbooked finest, is really the best way that I can describe that match. It had vibes of Austin and Dude Love from 98, which is one of my all-time favorite matches. And I've always described that match as sports entertainment at its finest, where the deck was stacked against Austin and we had all this outside interference and all these cameos in the match and a hot crowd and a top star who was over more than any other top star in history. And it just made for a really fun night. That's the way I felt about this match here tonight. The funny thing about it is, the most fun that I have had watching a match in WWE recently, the last two matches that I would say were the most fun that I had watching WWE was Rey Mysterio and Dominic at WrestleMania this year, and this match. If I had to sum up the match tonight in one word, I would sum it up in the word fun. Just 3 letters, that's it. I had so much fun watching that street fight tonight. We had, of course, you had to expect that the Judgment Day would get involved. You had to expect that the LWO, of course, was going to get involved in that match as well. What I was not expecting was Carlito was going to make an appearance. And then after Carlito makes an appearance, here comes Savio Vega. And I hear the Los Boricuas theme song, and I'm like, what is going on here? So we saw a lot of faces in that match, but in the end, it was Bad Bunny standing tall. No surprise there. Bad Bunny was not wrestling in Puerto Rico in his first singles match and losing to anybody, let alone Damian Priest. But when it was over, man, I like I said, I have not had that much fun watching a pay-per-view in a very long time. And I will tell all of you right now, the WWE, and whatever you want to say about what's been going on with the draft and this World Heavyweight title tournament, and I've had a lot to say, and I'm going to have a lot to say tomorrow on the podcast. But if you look at the year they've had so far on pay-per-view, they've had a very stellar year so far. They're on a roll with the Royal Rumble, especially the finish to this year's Royal Rumble show and the big angle they did at the end with Roman Reigns and Sami Zayn. Elimination Chamber in Montreal. WrestleMania, at least night one. Night one more so than night two of WrestleMania. And then Backlash tonight. Not a bad match to be found up and down the card. This was top to bottom a enthusiastic thumbs up, an excellent pay-per-view tonight. And it wasn't just about Bad Bunny and Damian Priest either, which I'm still sitting here stunned that did not close the show. Especially now that I sit here and I see how the show went off the air. And what they did with Cody and Brock, I am still just flabbergasted that they did not end the show with Bad Bunny. But we had Cody Rhodes and Brock Lesnar. It was one half of a double main event tonight. The Bunny was in one main event, Cody and Brock were in the other. And I have talked about what WWE has done with Cody Rhodes every day that has gone by since WrestleMania. Every day, every week. And tonight is no exception. It becomes clearer and clearer to me what I said to all of you a month ago when I sat here and I talked about night 2 of WrestleMania. The WWE made a very big mistake by not having Cody Rhodes finish the story and beat Roman Reigns at WrestleMania. Cody Rhodes against Brock Lesnar tonight in San Juan should have been a championship match. And I still feel that way. But Cody had to go in there tonight and beat Brock. And he did. Cody Rhodes beat Brock Lesnar. He didn't beat Brock Lesnar in convincing fashion. He didn't beat Brock Lesnar in a decisive way. And they certainly left the door open for a rematch. I mean, when that match was over, the thing that hit me like a bolt of lightning is the fact that they did that finish to set up for a rematch. They did it for a couple of reasons. They did it to protect Brock Lesnar and give him an out. But clearly to me, they did it to set up a rematch between these two, which has me wondering, with this World Heavyweight title tournament that's going to be kicking off on television this week, Brock Lesnar is a free agent. He can go anywhere he wants to go. Cody Rhodes now is officially still a member of the Monday Night Raw roster. I personally do not believe that Cody Rhodes should be anywhere close to that new World Heavyweight Championship. That is not the focus of his story. Cody should not have any sort of inclination or any sort of desire to go after the World Heavyweight Championship. Cody's focus should be Roman Reigns and the WWE Championship. But finish they did tonight with Cody and Brock sure seems to me like they could be setting up for Cody and Brock to go to the finals of this tournament in Saudi Arabia at Night of Champions. And I can envision a scenario where Brock Lesnar gets his win back and Brock Lesnar beats Cody. And he wins the World Heavyweight Championship. And they have their champion now on Raw. Cody can still go ahead and try to find another way to get to Roman Reigns, that being Money in the Bank. But if they're going to have a second match, it does make me wonder if Brock's going to go over in match number 2. And if that's the case, do they put the world title on Brock? I mean, to me, if they're even thinking about doing that, I don't know what purpose that serves, because you're right back in the same boat that you're in now, where you have a champion on SmackDown who barely shows up. So you're going to have a part-time champion on Friday and a part-time champion on Monday. I don't see what that accomplishes. So I'm hoping that is not the direction that they're going in. But it seems pretty clear to me at the end of this show that Cody and Brock, the issues between them are not done. It was very bloody. Jon Moxley would be very proud. His spidey senses were tingling. Even if he wasn't watching the show tonight, I could just picture him sitting at home, smoking a cigarette, watching television, and all of a sudden his spidey senses are going off. Oh, I sense blood somewhere. Someone's bleeding. Shockingly, it wasn't Cody Rhodes. If you watch Cody in AEW, you would think, oh, Cody must be the one who was bleeding. But no, it's actually Brock. The cracks are starting to show in the Bloodline, as we saw in the 6-man tag tonight, specifically with Jey Uso and Solo Sikoa. And just at the right time, too, with Roman Reigns making his return to television on SmackDown this coming Friday. He's going to be back on TV for the first time since the night after WrestleMania. We had a couple of women's championship matches on this show. Top to bottom, this was an excellent pay-per-view. And the fans in San Juan should give themselves a round of applause, because you guys had as much to do with that as anything. The matches, by and large, were very good, but it was all about that atmosphere. And this show tonight is going to be, I think when this year is over, and we look at the WWE pay-per-views for this year, this is going to be at or near the very top of the list. But they're on a roll this year. There's no doubt about it. Like I said, from Rumble to Chamber to WrestleMania Night 1 to Backlash, they're on a roll with their pay-per-views. Hopefully they can keep it up. We got one more to go later this month. But this is your WWE Backlash 2023 review. I am the Solomonster, and thank you for choosing me for your Backlash coverage here tonight. Do me a favor. Hit that subscribe button if you are checking this stream out for the very first time. I hope you stick around. Hit that subscribe button. Also, make sure you like the video. 500 likes is the goal tonight for Be the Booker, a little feature that we do at the end of the stream. If you don't know what that is, what the fuck is Be the Booker? Well, hit the thumbs up and maybe you'll find out a little bit later on. Super chats are open. You're going to see them popping up on your screen here. I will be reading your messages in a little bit. There's one of them right there. Bree mode has been activated here on this Backlash. It wouldn't be Backlash, I guess. It wouldn't be Backlash without some Bree mode. I don't know who that was, but thank you. Thank you for the super chat. Oh my God. Oh my God. Jesus Christ. We're having a party here on the street. Holy shit. Paul Hamilton with a $200 super chat bomb here at the beginning of this Backlash. How did I not see that? How did I miss that? Paul Hamilton is coming in with a $200 super chat. Paul, my man, you are a crazy SOB, but you already know that. Paul, you are the man. I don't know what else to say. You've got me tongue-tied here. Holy shit. I was not expecting that. See, that's how you want to start out a review. This show was a great pay-per-view, so it already kind of had me in a good mood. That right there put me in a great mood. Fuck. Holy shit. All right. Let's get into this here, because when I say that there was not a bad match to be had on this card tonight, one of the best matches of the night was actually the opening match. And it was for the Raw Women's Championship. We had Bianca Belair defending her Raw Women's title. The same Bianca Belair, by the way, who was just drafted to SmackDown. Defending her championship against Io Sky. Someone else who was just drafted to SmackDown. So technically, two SmackDown talents wrestling for the Raw Women's Championship. Although it doesn't officially take effect until Monday. Monday, May 8th is when the new rosters go into effect. Io Sky, I don't know what it was. I think it's just, frankly, that the people of Puerto Rico recognize talent. That's what I think it is. But they were tremendously behind Io Sky on this show. From the moment her music hit and this woman came out, this crowd made it very clear that Io Sky was the babyface and Bianca Belair was the heel. That much was very clear here in San Juan. We know exactly who the fans thought was the babyface in this match. No damage control, Bayley and Dakota Kai, at least at the beginning of this match. They did not come down to the ring, so it was Io Sky all by herself. And Michael Cole on commentary was noticeably playing up the narrative that there are some people who believe that damage control is holding back Io Sky. So already planting a seed. That seed would grow even more by the time this match was over. There were boos for Bianca whenever she would go on offense, and the crowd was firmly behind Io whenever she took control. Bianca caught Io in a tilt-a-whirl that Io was going for. She turned it into a backbreaker. Crowd did not like that at all. Bianca was still selling the arm, which Io had been working over, until she hit a delayed vertical suplex, and then she kicked up to her feet. Then all of a sudden, Bianca seemed to forget that her arm was hurting her. I guess she got some super strength. She got a second wind, and her arm was no longer bothering her. Bianca military pressed Io overhead with one arm. Then she started to sell the arm again. So she had her up, pressed overhead with one arm, which was very impressive. And it looked like what she wanted to do was to slam her on her back. That's what it looked like to me. She ended up dropping her face first down. And it looked like she planted this woman face first on the mat. Okay, Io ate the mat. And it was a scary spot because I thought she was looking for the rotation. I thought she was going to land on her head, but Io took a pretty rough bump face first to the mat. And then Bianca hit a standing moonsault, only got two. Io came back with a springboard drop kick right to the heart, and the crowd was molten. I don't think I can adequately put into words how over Io Sky, and it was a combination of a couple of things. First of all, I think they genuinely liked Io. That's number one. Number two, they wanted to see a title change. The narrative that Michael Cole was pushing on SmackDown Friday night was that if Bianca wins, she becomes the longest reigning women's champion ever in WWE in the modern era, whatever that means. However far back the modern era goes. They haven't told us. And I think that this crowd was looking for a title change. Bianca Belair has been the champion for over a year. She won that title at WrestleMania last year. So, of course, any crowd is going to want to see a title change. So that's, number two. And also, it was the opening match. And if you're lucky enough in front of a crowd like this to go on in the opening match of the night, these people are going to be amped the fuck up. So these women had everything going for them here in this match, but they were really behind Io in a big way. Bianca came back with a 450 splash attempt. Io got the knees up and then locked her in a crossface. Bianca countered out of that into a powerbomb position. Io turned that into a facebuster for a 2 count. They ended up outside. Io went up top. She hit her big moonsault off the top rope, took down Bianca. Back inside, Io and Bianca were up on top, and Io went for a Rana. She went for a Hurricane Rana. Bianca held on, because Bianca's very strong. So she held on, And Io kind of muscled herself back up. She tried again, and for a second time, Bianca held on. And she ended up delivering, she turned it into a power bomb. And that looked like a very rough landing for Io Sky. On that power bomb, she bounced, her head bounced off the mat. But she kicked out. She kicked out, and the place exploded. And so now, cue Damage Control. Here comes Bayley, here comes Dakota Kai. And they come down to distract Bianca. Io grabs Bianca's ponytail. Bianca hits her with a forearm, and Bianca hoisted up Io for the KOD. Io, though, countered into a roll-up. That was a great near fall. So now with the referee briefly distracted by Bayley, Io pulled Bianca into the middle rope, and when she did, Dakota caught Bianca with a kick to the side of the head. Referee didn't see it. Io went up top, and she's getting ready for the finish, right? She's getting ready for her big Genius of the Sky moonsault. Well, Bayley has a hold of Bianca's braid, and she's trying to hide it so the referee doesn't see, and she's kind of yanking on it so Bianca can't move. Well, she gets caught. And Io sees this as well, and Io, you could see her on the top rope. She's questioning Bayley, like, what are you doing? That was enough of a distraction where Io, when she finally came off, she missed. She missed her big moonsault, and then Bianca finally hit the KOD, and she pinned Io to retain the title. This was fucking great. This was great. There were a few clunky moments in here, including that military press. Again, I'm not sure if she meant to drop her face first or not. So there were a couple of rough moments like that, but, I mean, fuck. It's just, the match itself was very good, and you add that molten hot crowd to it, just behind everything these women were doing, especially Io. And it just made for a very memorable match. And this was the first time since Io Sky was called up to the main roster as part of Damage Control, we got to see shades of Io from NXT. We got to see shades of an Io Sky match that we used to get on those NXT TakeOver shows. This was the first time we got to see that version of Io Sky and what Io Sky can do. Because in a lot of ways, she has been held back by being a part of Damage Control. She's been held back by being part of a dead faction. Of all the groups, of all the factions in WWE, and they kept every single one of them together, from the Bloodline to the Judgment Day to the LWO to the Brawling Brutes, and everybody in between, the one that I was hoping they would break up and that should have been broken up, I feel, is Damage Control. And now it looks like we're finally heading in that direction. Because I think you can't argue in a way that it's time for Io to kind of break out on her own. Not that it was a bad idea to have her in a faction when she came up, because her English is not great. So when it comes to promos, she's not a great promo. She's not. She's a great wrestler, but WWE also likes their talent to be able to go out there. They do the backstage interviews, go in the ring and do an interview, cut a promo in the ring. She's not that good at it. Her kind of facial expression, she could tell a story sometimes. She can make, sometimes it looks like she's burning a hole through the other person who she's staring at. Her facial expressions are great, but it was smart to put her in a group and let someone like Bayley, let other people do the talking for her. But at some point, you got to listen to the crowd. And it wasn't just tonight in Puerto Rico. She's been getting more babyface reactions on television than she was previously. So it feels like the right time for her to finally kind of break out on her own. It would have been so tempting to call for an audible here in this match. I know a lot of people are going to feel that way, and I thought about it myself, but, it's part of the story that they're about to tell. They're planting the seeds of the eventual Damage Control breakup. They want to tell that story and let it play out on TV. And the story is very clear. Io had the match won. Arguably, she may have had the match won were it not for Bayley and Dakota getting involved. She didn't call for them to come down. She was doing okay. They came down on their own. Bayley got caught by the referee. It ended up distracting Io, and arguably that led to her losing. That's going to be part of the story as well. They also were not taking that title away from Bianca, given that they want her to set the record. As of midnight tonight, so we're 10 minutes away from midnight as I am talking right now. As of midnight, she will officially be the longest reigning women's champion in the modern era in WWE history. And WWE loves their records. WWE is clearly looking to freshen up their record books between the Roman Reigns run that he's on right now. Gunther with the Intercontinental title may end up breaking the Honky Tonk Man's record. They want Bianca Belair to do the same. They want to update their records. And so there was no way, as convincing as some of the near falls were, they did a good job with it, but ain't no way that Bianca was going to be losing this match tonight. So look, we got a great match. We got a breakout performance from EO here, and it looks like the end of Damage Control. I can see it. It's off in the distance, but I can see it. So there really isn't much to complain about here in this opening match. Not too much to complain about here. I thought this was fantastic stuff. And welcome to everybody who is filing on in. Again, we are talking about this Backlash pay-per-view from tonight, which I thought was one of the best WWE shows all year. That's what I thought. You guys let me know if you agree. I'm very curious to check that Twitter poll, which we'll do later on. I put the poll up right before I went live. Thumbs up, thumbs down. You can go vote right now, by the way, at Solomonster on Twitter. I have a feeling that this is going to be one of the stronger WWE polls that I've put up. So we go to the back, and Rey Mysterio was meeting with Bad Bunny, and the two of them were having a conversation in Spanish. I will not pretend that I know what the hell they were talking about, but they were bantering back and forth. And Rey introduced a special guest. Brings this person into the room, and Bad Bunny is all excited, and the camera pans out, and we see that it is Savio Vega, who got a bigger pop here in this one segment that he got his entire main roster run when he was working full-time in WWE 25 years ago. Huge pop from the crowd here in Puerto Rico, who, of course, they know who Savio is. Savio is, he's a fixture down there. Has been for many years. And honestly, if you look at Savio from like the neck up, he doesn't look much different than he did 25 years ago. He more or less still looks the same. So he presented Bad Bunny with a Puerto Rican flag kendo stick for him to use in his street fight later on in the show. Now we get to Seth Rollins, one-on-one with Omos, one of the new free agents. MVP negotiated for him to be a free agent. So we get to see Omos on Raw. We get to see Omos on SmackDown. I'm sure you're all very excited about that. We got to see him on Backlash tonight. That's what we got to see. They could not be bothered. They were so fucking lazy with this match, Vince McMahon, that they could not come up with a story for Seth Rollins against Omos. In fact, if you watch that go-home episode of Raw on Monday night, you would never even know this match was scheduled for this show. They didn't do a thing. They've had Omos occasionally squashing people on TV. Oh, look who it is.
Loves Gunther.
It's Gunther.
All hail Gunther.
All hail the mighty Gunther, and all hail Primetime, who just dropped a $50 super chat here on this Backlash Saturday. Primetime. Thank you, brother. Thank you for the 50. I will be getting to your message a little bit later on here tonight. Again, super chats are open if you want to support. If you have questions, comments, feel free. You'll see the little icon in the live chat window. They are open. So they couldn't be bothered to come up with a story here. This was a huge test for Seth Rollins because they slapped this thing together with no story. And obviously, you're going to be in the ring with somebody like Omos. And believe me, there have been plenty of giants who had two left feet, who were clumsy, who couldn't work, who didn't know what they were doing. Omos is not in that category. Like, Omos is not terrible. He's not going out there and hurting people. He's not going out there and tripping over his feet. You know, he's had the great fortune of being paired up with people like AJ Styles and MVP, and now working with people like Seth Rollins, right? Who arguably is probably the best worker that this company has right now. So it's not like Omos is fucking terrible or anything like that. But he's also not great. And he's also still very inexperienced, and he's very big. And it's hard. It's hard to carry on a match with somebody like that, other than doing the basic big man, little man match, which is what we got here. But if anybody was going to pull a great match out of Omos, it was going to be Seth Rollins. And he did about as good of a job as you could possibly expect here in this match. Before the match even started, Omos dropped Rollins with a boot. Rollins was standing there. He was basking in the glory of everybody singing his theme song. And Omos got tired of waiting and said, the hell with this. So he gave him a big boot. Referee checked on Rollins, made sure he was okay. Finally, the bell rang. And Omos immediately turned Rollins inside out with a shoulder tackle. A little while later, Rollins posted Omos and then hit a suicide dive. Omos, though, he barely budged. So Rollins went to do it again. This time, Omos caught him, and he chokeslammed him on the ring apron. Rollins came back with kicks to the leg, which is smart, right? If you're wrestling somebody who's 17 feet tall, you want to chop him down. So he started targeting the legs, got Omos down to one knee. Omos countered a pedigree attempt with a back body drop. Rollins managed to hit Omos with a tornado DDT, followed that with a frog splash, and Omos only got a 1 count. We got the big man kick out, so he powered out of that. Rollins tried for a curb stomp. Omos used his neck strength to stop the stomp. There's a hashtag for you. Hashtag stop the stomp. I actually thought that was pretty clever. So he was able to avoid that. Omos chokeslam Rollins, covered him. Seth kicked out. Rollins came back, finally hit the stomp at the same time that MVP had the referee distracted. Seth saw this, so he super kicked MVP off the apron. Rollins delivered stomp number 2, but only got a near fall out of it. And Rollins was shocked. He didn't know what he had to do here, so he ascended to the top rope. And Seth Rollins delivered one last super stomp off the top rope and finally got the pin, much to the delight of the crowd in San Juan. Basic big man, little man match where Rollins was trying everything. He was throwing everything at this guy. It wasn't working, and Omos was kicking out and countering out of everything. And so Rollins had to be a little creative as far as how he was going to beat this man. And so we had the super stomp off the top rope, which I thought was a great finish. The crowd was into everything Rollins was doing. Omos, I thought, did fine. You know, he carried himself fine. This is about as good of a match, I think, as you could possibly expect from Omos, and Seth was the perfect person for him to be in the ring with. It would have been absolutely foolish to beat Seth Rollins in this match this close to Night of Champions. That championship has Seth's name on it. And if Seth Rollins is not the first World Heavyweight Champion, then he'll be the second, right? How is he not going to be in this tournament? You can't beat Seth Rollins tonight when this tournament is about to get underway. That would have been foolish. So he had to win this match. But in doing so, if they want Omos to be this force to be reckoned with, and you're going to have the announcers going on television and saying, this man is unbeatable, this man is unstoppable. He just lost 2 straight matches. He lost to Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania, back-to-back. Now he's lost to Seth Rollins. So I don't want to hear that he's some kind of unstoppable force. He's now been beaten back-to-back times. So they're going to have to figure out what they want to do with this guy. But believe me, I was very, very satisfied to see Seth win here because I just think it would have been dumb to beat him heading into this tournament. Then we had the triple threat match for the United States Championship with Austin Theory defending against Bobby Lashley and Bronson Reed. You know, I was watching Theory come down to the ring. The last time we saw Theory on pay-per-view was WrestleMania. And he opened the show with John Cena. And that should have been a real turning point for him because John Cena is one of the biggest stars in the history of this company. Oh, you missed it by a little bit. I just got done talking about Seth. Now we're singing Seth's song. Look at this. Daddy Warbucks, you just missed it. Coming in with the $35 super chat. Hey, Daddy Warbucks, thank you. I just got done talking about Seth. You almost timed it perfectly. But what I was going to say is, we're now a month removed from WrestleMania. And that win over John Cena meant nothing. He's no bigger a star now than he was a month ago. If anything, he's actually less of a star, he feels like, than he was going into WrestleMania. What has Theory done over the last 4 weeks? He beat John Cena at WrestleMania, and he did absolutely nothing. It just hit me as I watched him come out. I said, what has he been doing since WrestleMania? Nothing. Now he's going to SmackDown. He's taking the U.S. title with him. I certainly hope they have some plan for him, because they've had absolutely nothing for him to do over the last 4 weeks. This was too short to be as great as I think it could have been. But for the 6 or 7 minutes that they got, I thought this was very good. Lashley was working over Theory until Theory and Reed started working together to take down Lashley. That union didn't last very long. Reed dropped Theory with a body block. Lashley got Theory in the hurt lock. Theory was able to get to the ropes to escape. And with Bobby Lashley down, Bronson Reed hit the tsunami splash and had the match won until Austin Theory broke up the pin attempt. The crowd was chanting something, and I wasn't entirely sure at first what it was. So I listened closer, and then I asked somebody. And the crowd was chanting El Gordito at Bronson Reed, which apparently translates to chubby guy. So that's what they were chanting at Bronson, or so I'm told. That's what they were chanting at Bronson Reed during this match, El Gordito. Theory gave Reed a rolling blockbuster and then muscled the big guy up onto his shoulders. Going to give him A-Town down, but Reed slipped out. Reed hit a power slam, and then he tried a moonsault like he was Vader. He goes up top. That's a big boy to be coming off the top rope for a moonsault. He did a belly flop because Theory moved out of the way. And as soon as Reed got back up to his feet, Lashley hit him with a spear. This played out exactly the way I had it in my head when I talked about the predictions last night on the Smackdown stream. To a T. And so he spears Reed, and as soon as Lashley gets up, there's Theory, and he grabs Bobby, and he chucks him out of the ring, and he steals the pin on Bronson Reed to retain the U.S. title. Exactly the way that I figured it was going to play out. It just seems so obvious. Michael Cole on commentary was teasing the idea of Lashley wanting to go after Roman Reigns now that he's on SmackDown and wanting to go after the Undisputed Championship, which is exactly what should happen, which is why Austin Theory was always going to win this match. Bronson Reed was never going to win this match. Bronson Reed was just drafted to Monday Night Raw. Monday Night Raw now has the Intercontinental title. There was no chance of Bronson Reed winning the U.S. title and taking it back to Raw. So you already knew he had no chance of winning. It was either Theory or Lashley. Lashley has been U.S. champion before, multiple times. There is no reason to put the U.S. title back on Lashley. That's a lateral move. If you're drafting Bobby Lashley to SmackDown, then Bobby Lashley automatically becomes one of your top baby faces on the brand. He should be used like one and booked like one. He doesn't need the U.S. title. One of the few men that Roman Reigns has not met during this run that he has been on, and there's a few, AJ Styles is another one who's also on SmackDown now, is Bobby Lashley. They have stayed away from it. They have not done Roman Reigns and Bobby Lashley. And I said this on the stream last night. Baron Corbin is the last man to pin Roman Reigns. That was back in 2019. But the last man to pin Roman Reigns clean was Bobby Lashley 5 years ago. 5 years ago. Roman Reigns has not taken a clean pinfall loss in this company in 5 years. And the last man to do it was Bobby Lashley. And that's all you need to say. All Bobby Lashley has to do is go out on television and say, hey, Roman, I got your number in case you forgot. And there you go. That you can use that as part of the setup for the eventual match. And you do Roman Reigns and Bobby Lashley at Night of Champions in Saudi Arabia, or you do Roman Reigns and Bobby Lashley in London at Money in the Bank. Either way, there's no reason you can't get a match, at least one, out of Roman Reigns and Bobby Lashley. Is Bobby Lashley going to win? No. No. Nobody who faces Roman Reigns, at least until SummerSlam, and maybe not even then, is going to beat Roman Reigns because he's unbeatable. No matter who WWE puts him in the ring with, Roman always goes over. So if they do Bobby Lashley, he's going to lose. If they do AJ Styles, he's going to lose. That's just the way it is. But he needs people to work with. And Bobby Lashley just makes all the sense in the world. So Austin Theory retaining the U.S. title was the right move. And we'll see who they match him up with. We had Rhea Ripley, newly drafted to Monday Night Raw, taking on Zelina Vega for the SmackDown Women's Champion. Are you keeping track of this, by the way? We had two newly drafted SmackDown women in the opener, wrestling for the Raw Women's title. And now we had the SmackDown Women's Champion, who now is on Monday Night Raw, defending her title against Zelina Vega. I just want to make sure you're keeping track of all this. Zelina Vega walked out, and she was wearing the Puerto Rican flag as a robe. And she looked, she was on cloud nine when she came out. And she went right over to hug her family in the front row, her stepfather, her mother, her brother. She was in tears. This woman was in tears when Samantha Irvin was in the ring doing the introductions and she introduced Zelina. She got a very long standing ovation. The announcers laid out. It was a great moment. Michael Cole said that she was dedicating this match tonight to her father, for those who don't know, who died in the 9/11 attacks at the World Trade Center. He also mentioned the Amazing Red. I don't know how many of you picked up on that because I think they were talking over each other, but he did give a shout out to the Amazing Red, who is Zelina's cousin. And I just said, shout out to the Amazing Red. House of Glory represent. Always love it when Red gets a mention on TV. By the way, I could be totally wrong here. I could have sworn that I saw Lana in the crowd when they were briefly showing the crowd when Zelina was soaking up the crowd reaction during the introductions. I could have sworn I saw Lana in somewhere in the first three or five rows. Or if not Lana, it was somebody who looked a lot like Lana. But I could be wrong. I didn't see Miro. But sure looked like Lana. So Zelina grabbed a flip-flop early in the match. She went outside and grabbed a flip-flop from her mother and threw it at Rhea and got a big pop for it. And Michael Cole pointed out that in Latin culture, it is called a chancla. I hope I'm saying that right. A chancla. I never had a flip-flop thrown at me when I was a kid, although my mother did put a bar of soap in my mouth a few times when I mouthed off. I probably deserved it. I'd rather get a flip-flop to the head than a bar of soap in the mouth. That is not fun. This was exactly what I expected it to be. This was David and Goliath in women's form here, right? Rhea Ripley lording over Zelina Vega, who is a very tiny woman. Rhea mostly dominated. We had Vega getting a few hope spots. Vega went on the offensive with some forearms and hit a pair of clotheslines. Ripley, though, stayed on her feet. And Rhea was setting up for the Riptide finish. Vega, though, countered into a spiked DDT. And Rhea always sells those DDTs. She's taken a few DDTs from Zelina on television in the last few weeks. She may have taken one from her last night, now that I think about it, on SmackDown. She always sells those DDTs great. So she took a spiked DDT. Vega followed up with a 619. And then she went to the middle rope. And she did the Eddie Guerrero shimmy. And I'm sure Chavo was livid. Ripley cut off Vega, coming off the ropes with a kick to the head, and then finished her off with the Riptide to retain the title. Went about 7 minutes. Rhea headed to the back. She left Vega the ring all to herself. And Zelina was in tears. The crowd gave her a very prolonged, they turned the music off, and the crowd gave her a very long standing ovation. Again, she was just totally emotional. She basically, what she got here? She got her Sheamus moment in Cardiff. If you remember when Sheamus lost to Gunther in Cardiff at Clash at the Castle and Imperium left, and they cut the music and it was just Sheamus standing in the ring in front of 60-some-odd thousand fans, and they gave him a standing ovation. And Sheamus was just standing there, just soaking it up, and it was this great moment of respect from the crowd. And that's what San Juan gave her here in this moment. This was incredible. And Malachi Black tweeted when the match was over, "Your moment in the sun, win or loss, your moment." Her losing was predictable, but her losing, it doesn't matter. In the grand scheme of things, Zelina Vega, and again, everybody in the world had to know that she wasn't beating Rhea Ripley. Rhea Ripley was not losing her championship in her first title defense to Zelina Vega, of all people, who has never been seriously pushed in this company. The LWO stuff is the best thing that has happened to her. and to Legado del Fantasma, because the LWO has taken off in a way that I don't even think this company honestly expected. So she's in a great position being a part of that group. But she has never been pushed in a serious way. Even when she won the Queen's crown and they made her Queen of the Ring, or I guess they didn't call it that, but she was never seriously pushed. For her, it was all about the moment in Puerto Rico, being in front of the fans, being in front of her family, being in a championship match on pay-per-view for the first time. This is a moment that she will never forget. This was the highlight of her career. It wasn't about, she has to win, or no. The moment for her was the entrance. The moment for her was the post-match. And you could see how much that meant to her. And I was very happy for her that she was able to have that moment. Wrestling is best when there's emotion involved, when there's real emotion involved. And you got a lot of real emotion here. So the match itself, nothing special. It was fine. Like I said, relatively short. Not unexpected, but it was about, what came after the match made that very special. And then we got one half of our double main event. Bad Bunny taking on Damian Priest in a San Juan street fight. This was Damian Priest's the biggest match of his career. Damian Priest was the lone Judgment Day member to not have a match at WrestleMania this year. Rhea Ripley had a match. Finn Balor had a match. Dominic had a match. Not only did they all have matches, they had big matches on the show. Rhea won the SmackDown Women's title. Balor was in a Hell in a Cell match. And Dominic, like I said, I haven't had that much fun watching a match in a long time. Dominic and Rey I thought was fantastic. Priest was the odd man out. This was Damian Priest's WrestleMania tonight here at Backlash. There were actually 3 Puerto Ricans in the ring. It wasn't just Bad Bunny and Damian Priest. The referee as well, Eddie Orengo, had the honors of officiating. He also is Puerto Rican, so I thought that was kind of cool. Bad Bunny came out, as you would expect, to no one's surprise. Got a mega reaction coming out. This entrance was great. This entrance was actually really cool. Crowd was singing along to his music. Again, all hail Chris Jericho. Crowd was singing along to his music. It was like a concert when he came out. He wheeled a shopping cart full of weapons to the ring with him, channeling his inner Raven here. And Michael Cole pointed out on commentary, Bad Bunny just recently headlined both nights of Coachella. Just last week, he was a headliner at some gala at the Met. And tonight, here he is wrestling Damian Priest. And so this match begins, and this fucking guy, in the first 60 seconds of this match, gives Damian Priest a Michinoku driver. In the first minute of this match, Priest fought back, and he kind of humbled him for a little bit before hitting his South of Heaven chokeslam. He covered the bunny, and then he picked him up off the mat before the referee could count 3. So it looked like Damian Priest had the match won, but he picked him up. He said, I'm not done with you yet. We're just getting started. I'm going to have some fun with you before I finish you off here. So he wanted to dole out a little more punishment Martinez to this man, is what he wanted to do. So the bunny ended up on the floor, and Priest tried for a step-up dive that he does over the ropes. Before he could hit the dive, though, the bunny threw a chair at his head, and Bad Bunny grabbed a kendo stick. He went to go use it on Priest. Priest, though, shoved him off. Bunny hit a tornado DDT and then clotheslined Priest out to the floor. And Bad Bunny headed to the top rope. He hit a splash onto Priest on the floor. Michael Cole screamed, "Buddies can fly!" Which is a corny line, yes, but I thought it was fantastic. I will give Michael Cole his props for that line. I thought that was actually a great line. Just the way he screamed it. Bunnies can fly. Yes, indeed. Back inside, the bunny hit a Falcon Arrow on Priest for a near fall. That is, of course, one of Damian's signature moves. Priest bailed to the floor. He was basically saying, the hell with it. I'm leaving. I'm out of here, right? And you could see, as Bad Bunny was coming after him with a garbage can, you could see Priest was giving him the side eye, like, all right, I'm going to lure him in. And Bad Bunny fell right into his trap. As he came charging in, Priest turned around and he kicked the garbage can right back in his face. He grabbed the kendo stick that Savio Vega had given Bad Bunny earlier in the show, and he smashed him with it. Then he threw the bunny over the barricade into the timekeeper's area on the exposed floor. So they fought into the crowd, and they ended up climbing up on top of a couple of equipment cases that were sitting there. They climb on top, and Priest hits a broken arrow off of the equipment cases down through two tables that are sitting next to each other down below. It was actually a hell of a bump for the bunny to take. Looked great. So officials pour out now. They're checking on Bad Bunny, including Adam Pearce. And Priest starts yelling at Daivari. Daivari was one of the agents out there. Starts yelling at him. He says, "He's not done because I'm not done." And he grabs Bad Bunny, picks him up over his shoulder. He carries him all the way back down to ringside. Priest tried a spin kick up against the ring. He had Bad Bunny up against the ring post. So he tried for a spin kick, and the bunny moved out of the way, and Priest, he smashed his leg into the ring post, which gave the bunny some hope. So in the ring, Bad Bunny started whacking away. I should probably rephrase that. I know Bad Bunny was very excited. He was having a hell of a night. What I was going to say is he was whacking away at the bad leg with a kendo stick. That's what he was doing. So he got Priest's legs wrapped around the ring post, and then he grabbed a chain because he had his shopping cart full of goodies outside, right? So he went and he grabbed a chain. And he brought the chain over and he started abusing the leg with it. He went back over, he grabbed a steel chair, came back over, and he smashed the same leg with the steel chair. He was trying to take Priest's legs away from him. He brought the chair into the ring. Priest is down now, right? He's clutching his knee and he's writhing around in pain. And as the bunny goes for the kill shot, Priest is begging him, don't do it. He's saying, don't do it. And he's apologizing. He's saying, I'm sorry. So Bad Bunny lowers the chair. And Priest again suckered him in. And he reached up, gave him a boot to the face. So now it was Damian's turn with the chair. But as he went to go raise the chair, Bad Bunny delivered a low blow. And down went Damian Priest. Enter the Judgment Day. Finn Balor and Dominic Mysterio. How nice of them, by the way, here in this no disqualification street fight to wait until the very end before they interfered in this match. Technically, the Judgment Day and the LWO could have been at ringside. Or they could have interfered at will. But they didn't. They behaved themselves, I guess. They stayed in the back. But not anymore. Here comes Balor. Here comes Dominic. Rey Mysterio then runs down to try to come to the bunny's aid. He gets beaten down. Then we heard Carlito's music. And out comes Carlito Caribbean Cool. Big monster reaction to Carlito. Carlito's a body guy now. Remember Carlito made that cameo in the Royal Rumble? Was it a year ago, 2 years ago? Compare the shape he's in now, even though he's a lot older than he was when he was in WWE previously. The shape he's in now compared to the shape he was in before. That's why he calls himself a body guy. Carlito clears Balor and Dominic from the ring. Then he pulls out an apple, takes a bite out of the apple. Dominic attacks him from behind. Rey then takes Dominic out with the 619. The 619 knocks Dominic backwards into Carlito, who spits the apple out in his face. Big pop. Rey and Carlito then chase Dominic and Balor down the aisle, and they have him cornered. The reason they have them trapped, rather. The reason they have them trapped is because we hear another familiar theme song. Familiar if you are a longtime WWE fan. So I should say that if you were not a fan back in the Attitude Era, then you might not know that it was Los Boricuas theme song that plays. The people in San Juan knew it as soon as they hit the music. And out comes Savio Vega. And Savio was moving slow, because Savio's a lot older. Like I said, he looks the same from the neck up. But he's moving a lot slower than he used to. So out comes Savio Vega, another big reaction. And so he starts motioning to the back for someone to come out. They play, Viva la Raza. And they play the LWO music. And so here comes Joaquin Wilde and Cruz del Toro and Santos Escobar. And Balor elected to take his chances with Savio instead of going the opposite way where Ray and Carlito were. He's going to take his chances with Savio. He ends up eating some chops and a thrust kick as well. Savio, like I said, he was moving slow. The crowd, though, they ate this up. I can excuse it. It's a fun moment for the crowd. I mean, look, again, one of my favorite matches. Battleground, 2013. Cody and Dustin against The Shield. Ambrose was outside in their corner. Dusty was in the corner of his sons. Dusty was old. Dusty couldn't move very well. But he gave Ambrose the bionic elbow. And of course, Dean sold it like he had gotten shot. And it's those moments that you can excuse because it's a legend and the crowd pops for it. It's a great moment to see them, hit their move and do their thing. So it's fine. He was moving slow, but it's fine. So Savio delivered more chops to Dominic as well. And then he and the LWO, I was going to say they chased Balor and Dominic to the back. Savio wasn't chasing so much as he was following. He was walking to the back with them. Meanwhile, after all of this, there's still a match going on. There's still a street fight in progress here. Priest tried for a cyclone kick, but his leg gave out. And Bad Bunny locked on the figure 4 leg lock. And again, a huge reaction from the crowd here. Priest is just screaming in agony. He went flat, as if maybe he had passed out. The referee started counting. Counts 1, counts 2. Priest gets back up. So he broke the hold. He had the Bunny by the throat. He was going for the South of Heaven chokeslam again. Bunny, though, countered into a roll-up, only got 2. We got a lot more near falls here in the closing moments than I thought. There were a lot of near falls that felt like, okay, this is it. And it kept going. It was starting to feel like one of those old Adam Cole NXT TakeOver main events, or some of the matches that you would see in AEW, where sometimes they just get to the point where it's like, all right, that's 1 or 2 or 5 near falls too many. It worked here, but I'm just saying that if anything, I would have maybe cut out 1 or 2 of these near falls here. But anyway, he kicked out. So Priest then went headfirst into a chair that had been wedged in between the top 2 turnbuckles. And Bad Bunny grabs him by the neck, and he hits the ropes, and he delivers a sliced bread number 2. And on his way down, he almost landed on his fucking head. Bad Bunny did. But he covered Priest. Priest again kicked out. Bunny grabbed a chair, and he started wearing out Priest with it. Chair shots to the back. And finally, he finished him off with a destroyer. He finished him off with a Puerto Rican destroyer. He got the pinfall. I love that he used that as a finish. That move has been so bastardized in wrestling, and it's just used. It's just another move. It's a setup move. It doesn't mean anything. I like the fact that he used that as a finish. And I know he used that in his first match when he and Priest tagged against Miz and Morrison at WrestleMania a couple of years ago. He hit a destroyer to Morrison on the floor, actually. But I really like the fact that he actually ended the match with it. When this thing was over, I was exhausted. Like, in a good way, though. I was exhausted when this match was over. It was fun. It's the best word to sum up what this match was. This match was a lot of fun to sit and watch. This was sports entertainment, overbooked as it was, and it was, but at its finest. And Damian Priest, he got his WrestleMania moment here, and he did a hell of a job, I thought, in there with somebody who has never worked a singles match before. Bad Bunny had wrestled 1 match. That's it. He had 1 tag team match 2 years ago, and he had a cameo in a Royal Rumble match. That was it. Never had a singles match, certainly not in a spot like this, co-main event on a pay-per-view. We've seen Logan Paul in a main event on pay-per-view. He and Roman Reigns at Crown Jewel last year, they went out. They had an excellent match. Logan Paul has been a freak. As far as a celebrity the WWE has brought in who never had any prior experience doing this, but he's, got a natural athleticism and a natural aptitude for it. He's a better athlete than Bad Bunny is. Bad Bunny, he's been a fan his whole life. I mean, Bad Bunny is no slouch either. I'm not saying he's not in shape or anything. I'm just saying Logan Paul is a different beast and that he has certain athletic gifts that Bad Bunny doesn't have. But between him and Bad Bunny, and I'll even throw Pat McAfee in there, you know, these celebrities that they have brought in over the last couple of years have really raised the bar. As far as their performances are concerned, they've been very, very impressive. And kudos to Bad Bunny as well. You know, as inexperienced as he was, he more than held his own. I was actually very impressed by his selling at different points during this match. But Damian Priest was sort of the glue that held this together. And it's a huge show of trust that this company put in him by putting him in that position. Originally, this was going to be a tag team match. This was going to be Ray and Bad Bunny against Dominic and Priest. And somewhere along the way in the last few weeks, the plan changed. And they decided, you know what? This guy, he's ready. He's ready to have a singles match. And they were right. These two went out there and they had one of the, in my opinion, the best matches all year. Because it's about more than just work rate sometimes. As far as just pure fun and entertainment, this is going to end up on that list when this year is over of one of the best matches of the year. I have no idea how or why they did not close the show with this. And now that I've had the chance to go ahead and see what they did at the end of the show, I'm even more baffled by it. So I have no idea why they decided to not close the show with this. When this was over, all I could think is, good luck to the next two matches trying to follow that. And what followed that was the Bloodline. Solo Sikoa and the Usos teaming up to take on Matt Riddle, Kevin Owens, and Sami Zayn, the undisputed tag team champions. I know there were some people on my timeline who said, I completely forgot there was even a tag team match. Like, I said something about how we have two matches left, and they're like, two matches? Cody and Brock, what's the other match? Like, some people completely forgot that there was even a 6-man tag left on this show. But this was the come down match, is what this was. This was the come down match for the crowd. It was the come down match for me. The first half of this felt like any 6-man tag that we would get on Raw or SmackDown. Because we do tend to get a lot of those on television, and so there was nothing about this match at first that felt any different. It got interesting towards the end with some of the drama they built up between Solo Sikoa and Jey Uso, and that's when it really started to get interesting, and we started to see the cracks in the foundation of the Bloodline and dissension, more than usual, dissension within the ranks of the Bloodline. Sami Zayn put Jimmy Uso down with a Blue Thunder Bomb about midway into the match. Got a near fall, Jay tagged in, and the Usos set up for a double superplex. Sami fought them off, and he came off the top rope. As he did so, both Usos caught him with a double super kick right to the mush. And after that, Jay started barking at Sami, and this is all your fault, and he ripped his shirt off, and he threw it at Sami. And by the way, the crowd was, again, for a good part of this match, they were more quiet for this than anything else on the show. And it wasn't necessarily, it wasn't any kind of indictment on the work in the match. It was just like nothing was going to be able to follow what we had just seen. So unfortunately for them, this match had the least amount of heat of anything on the show. They weren't dead silent for it, but they were a lot quieter than they were for anything else. So I would not have wanted to be in this position. So Jey Uso, like I said, is yelling at Sami Zayn. Solo Sikoa tags himself in, and he is glaring at Jey Uso. Because Solo's thing, even earlier in the match, he would tag himself in, and his whole thing was basically, I'm going to do my part. Like, I'm tagging into this match, I'm going to do my part. So he tags in, he's glaring at Jey Uso, who goes out to the apron. As soon as Jay gets out on the apron, he immediately tags himself back in. Now the crowd wakes up. Now the crowd sees what's going on here now, right? And Jay, he didn't just tag himself back in. He smacked the shit out of his brother when he tagged himself back in. And Solo was pissed. And Jay told him, get out of the ring. So Zayn went for a haluva kick on Jay, who ducked, which caused Sami to boot Solo off the apron. Sami put Jay down with an exploder, When Jay stood up, Sami hit the haluva kick and he had him beat. Sikoa got back into the ring, though, to break up the pin. Solo put Owens down with a Samoan spike. In the heat of the moment, though, as soon as he did that, he turned around. He didn't realize at first who it was. It was Jay. And he grabbed Jay by the throat. He was about to deliver a Samoan spike to Jey Uso, and he stopped himself. When he realized who it was, he stopped himself, but he didn't let go. He was holding on. He was thinking about it. The crowd was buzzing. He was thinking about it, but he thought better of it. Moments later, Jay put Sami down with a super kick. Jay went for a top rope splash. Sami got his knees up. He cradled Jay into a pin for a near fall. Riddle tagged in. He ate a super kick from Jay. Then he hit him with a knee to the face. Solo made a blind tag. Riddle hit Bro Derek on Jey Uso. Solo got into the ring, though. Riddle did not realize that he had made the blind tag. And he hit Riddle with the Samoan spike, and he pinned him. When the match was over, Solo Sikoa was not very happy at all. He was fuming. And the Bloodline posed. Solo let out a tribal scream. So the Bloodline wins. Solo Sikoa takes the winning fall as expected to keep Solo strong, especially if I'm right. If I'm right, and the reason that they have largely been keeping Solo strong for the last several weeks since WrestleMania is because they're setting him up, I think, to be part of this World Heavyweight title tournament. You know, he's on SmackDown, but SmackDown talent is allowed to compete for this brand-specific Raw title. So I think that very good chance that Solo Sikoa will be in this. Again, it's not even really a tournament. You know, they're having 2 triple threat matches on Monday, 2 triple threat matches on Friday. The winners of those 2 triple threat matches will meet each other at the end of each show. And then those 2 winners will meet at Night of Champions. I think it's very possible Solo Sikoa is going to the finals at Night of Champions, likely against Seth Rollins, since their match last Monday had no clear-cut winner. And if that's the case, then it makes all the sense in the world for Solo Sikoa to go over and get the winning fall here in this match. I like the drama between Jay and Solo. The match itself was good. It wasn't a bad match, but it just was nothing special. It really wasn't. And the first half in particular was actually pretty dull. Final minutes got more interesting with the Bloodline drama, but you know, when the match was over, the match itself took a back seat to the bullshit at the end with Solo and Jay. There was nothing special about the match itself. And that led to the other half of our double main event. Cody Rhodes, the American Nightmare, taking on Brock Lesnar. Cody, big time over here in Puerto Rico, for those wondering. He took out Brock because Brock had the second entrance. So as Brock comes down, he's circling the ring. Now he's over on the side by the announcers. He's not really paying attention. Cody launches himself with a suicide dive through the ropes. This is all before the opening bell. Then he hits Brock 3 times in the head with the ring steps. Cody grabs a chair. He takes a chair to Brock's back 4 times. Brock Lesnar then rolls into the ring, and finally we get a bell. So now officially the match is underway. And this is another one of those situations where it's very lazy in the way that they put this together. Because we saw Brock Lesnar turn on Cody Rhodes and leave him laying the night after WrestleMania. That was 4 weeks ago. We still have yet to get any explanation from Brock Lesnar on TV about why he did what he did to Cody Rhodes. It's the same thing as the Seth Rollins and the Omos stuff, where they're doing some of these things and they're just kind of throwing it out there without any sort of explanation or story behind it. You know, it reeks of Vince McMahon in a lot of ways, because one thing Triple H has largely been very good about since he took the book is the storytelling on television. And in just the last 4 weeks alone, we've had these 2 different scenarios where they're just sort of thrown out there and they don't really make a whole lot of sense. And they even brought it up on commentary that we still have not gotten any sort of explanation from Brock Lesnar. So Cody Rhodes has been going out there on television now for weeks, cutting this promo, you know, about Brock attacking him and everything, but it's a very thin story. I mean, there's not a whole lot to go on there. So Cody, you know, he's been doing the best he can. We haven't gotten any promo time really from Brock. So the build-up for this match was very lacking. So anyway, we finally get a bell. One disaster kick, followed by a second disaster kick, took Brock down to his knees. Cody went for a third one. He was either going for a disaster kick or a Cody cutter. We'll never know, because as he came off the ropes, Brock caught him around the waist. Caught him in midair, and he delivered a German suplex. Just one. Cody came off the top rope after that. Brock caught him again in midair, and he delivered a fall-away slam. Lesnar delivered, I think it was about 5 or 6, I lost count. It was about 5 or 6 straight German suplexes after this. It was every Brock Lesnar match that we have seen in the last fucking 8 years, basically. Cody grabbed a hold of one of the top turnbuckle pads in between all of these suplexes. He was kind of woozy, but as he got up, he grabbed the turnbuckle pad. And when Brock grabbed him to deliver another German, Cody pulled the turnbuckle pad off, and he flung it as he went backwards, and he threw it and ended up landing in the crowd somewhere. So that'll be a nice souvenir for somebody to take home. Then Brock grabbed him for a bear hug, and he delivered an overhead throw. So this was very dull. This was a very boring part of this match. And I also was looking at Brock, and I was thinking to myself, how can a man built like Brock Lesnar have such skinny chicken legs? It's amazing to me. When we look at Brock and just the way that he's built, the one consistent thing about Brock Lesnar is those skinny chicken legs that he has. It's amazing. And he's very quick. He's very fast. He can run very quickly with those legs. They're not as developed as the rest of his body. So Brock ended up coming into the corner. He kind of lunged into the corner, and Cody got a drop toe hold. And Brock went face first into the exposed buckle, and he immediately was split open. So he had a deep cut above, I believe it was his left eye. And immediately, his cut begins to gush blood, right? And he is wearing the Crimson Mask. We have not seen blood like this on WWE television, probably since the last Brock Lesnar match that had blood. And usually it's Brock's opponent that he opens up. In this case, it was Brock himself. So he is just bleeding like a fucking pig. Cody hits a Cody cutter, follows that with a disaster kick. He has Brock's blood all over him and his tights and everything. He wipes some of Brock's blood across his chest, which is a cool visual. Hits another Cody cutter. Then he gets him in position for the crossroads. And the crossroads connects, picks him up immediately into a second crossroads. Cody covered him, but Brock kicked out at 2.5. Lesnar came back with an F5 that nearly ended the match. Cody, though, kicked out at 2.5. Lesnar got the Kimura lock applied. And when Cody popped his hips, he threw all of his weight forward, almost like he cradled Brock forward and threw all of his momentum in front of him. He got Lesnar's shoulders down by using his own body weight against him. And he pinned him. That was it. He pinned Brock Lesnar. Came out of nowhere, shocked the hell out of everybody. Fans popped because they liked Cody, and Cody won. And I was left thinking, well, I guess we're definitely getting a rematch between these two, because that finish was tailor-made for there to be at least one more match between these two guys. And I'm not sure there is a need for another match, but I don't see how they don't do one after the finish that they gave us here. And I would assume it happens in Saudi Arabia, because they don't have another pay-per-view after Night of Champions until Money in the Bank. Cody should be doing something else at Money in the Bank. Cody should be a little preoccupied with something else at Money in the Bank. He shouldn't still be wrestling Brock Lesnar. That only leaves one show, Night of Champions, since we know Brock doesn't work television. So if they're going to do a rematch, Saudi Arabia is the place for it to happen. I like the visual of the bloody Brock Lesnar, but if that was the finish that they were going to do, I don't see why the blood was necessary. Unless it wasn't planned. Look, just because it was hard-way blood does not mean that Brock Lesnar was not trying to bleed, right? He could still, whether he told the company or not, I'm sure he did. You can plan a splot. You can plan a splot in a match where you're going to get blood. We've seen it in Brock Lesnar matches before when he opened up Randy Orton at SummerSlam all those years ago. That's why Chris Jericho got so hot. He thought Brock was going into business for himself and he was hurting Randy, and he confronted him in the back because apparently this fucking guy has a death wish. So it would not be the first time that Brock planned a spot where he or his opponent were going to get cut open hard way for the sake of doing a spot in a match. Did they call an audible, and call for an early finish to the match because of the blood? I don't think so. I mean, do you honestly think that Brock Lesnar would allow that? Can you imagine like the referee getting a cue in his ear saying, "Oh, we're going to go home early, Brock. Your cut's looking a little rough." Okay. No, Brock's going to tell him to fuck off and leave me alone. So no, I don't think that the match ended prematurely with an unplanned finish. I think that was exactly what they planned to do. And it was an anticlimactic finish. I didn't like the finish. It was an anticlimactic finish, whether it was planned that way or not. And honestly, I was kind of bored by the match. I was kind of bored by this entire match. It followed the same Brock Lesnar blueprint, more or less, that we have gotten from him for many years now. Cody winning was the correct outcome. He had to win. I mean, back-to-back losses coming out of WrestleMania, that would have been awful. So I felt like he had to win this. They did it in a way that protected Lesnar. I guess maybe that's why they did the blood. They wanted that visual. I don't know. But again, for that type of finish, I don't even think the blood was needed. But they did it in a way that protected Brock. And it sets him up for a rematch because Cody caught him. Right? It was almost as if Cody didn't beat Brock so much as Brock beat himself, with his weight and his momentum being shifted forward, and it's almost like he pinned himself. So he got caught. It was not exactly what I would call a dominant win, a decisive win for Cody Rhodes. And now that I've seen the match, I am just even more baffled that they decided to close the show with this and not the Bad Bunny stuff. It could have been a giant party in that building had they elected to end with that. I think that was probably a misfire. But when this show was over, it didn't change the fact, even though I was kind of bored by that main event, and I think that they should have closed with the Bad Bunny stuff, this show on a whole was an excellent pay-per-view. And the crowd had a whole hell of a lot to do with that. This was a lot of fun atmosphere. Some good matches here on this show. And now we wait for this World Heavyweight title tournament to commence. And the new rosters go into effect officially on Monday. They take effect. We have no idea. I think they said that starting tomorrow on social media, they're going to start announcing who the participants are in those triple threat matches on Raw Monday night. And maybe on SmackDown Friday night. I don't know if I don't know if the announcement will be made early enough for me to get it on the podcast tomorrow. But from what I understand, I'm pretty sure they said starting tomorrow. On social media, they're going to start making those announcements. Because as of this moment, we have no idea who is in any of these triple threat matches. Let's take a look at the Twitter poll. And that tells the story right there. 92% of you have given this show a very enthusiastic thumbs up. Look at that Bad Bunny emoji, too. Look up by the Backlash hashtag. I didn't realize that. They actually have Bad Bunny's face as an emoji with the hashtag. But 92% thumbs up, only 7.6% thumbs down. I mean, I don't see how that can be a thumbs down show, but there you go. Overwhelmingly positive score, almost 2,000 votes in. Get your votes in. At Solomonster is the place to go on Twitter. Let me know what you thought about the pay-per-view. I thought it was great. I don't even know that WrestleMania had that high of a score. This may end up being the highest rated pay-per-view that they have done by the time this year is over. But we still have a lot of year left yet to go. A lot more pay-per-views yet to come, so time will tell where Backlash will fall. Again, if you would like to send in a super chat, I will be reading all of them here, so go ahead and get them on in. And I know the goal tonight for Be the Booker was 500 likes minimum, and we are already at 630. So we have smashed the goal. Let's see if we can get to 700. What about thumbs in between? I've done away with thumbs in between. The thumbs in the middle thing was a thing that I did because people were bitching about it for the longest time, and I just think it's such a cop-out answer, but I did it anyway. And now we've gotten rid of it for the time being. So it's very simple. You either like the show or you didn't. Thumbs up, thumbs down. I think it's a lot cleaner that way. Groovy Goose says, just wanted to say I appreciate your streams. Hey, Groovy Goose, I appreciate you for saying that. Thank you very much, brother. The Fluff Salisbury. Do you think that they are calling it a double main event so Brock won't attack Bad Bunny on Monday? Look at Richie Rich over here dropping all this money on me. Boy. Hey, I just want you to know, I think you rock. I don't mean The Rock, A-Rock, you rock. And I just wanted you to know that. Hey, Fahad is coming in with a huge super chat here, over $100 worth of super chat. And it disappeared here before I could read it, but we'll get to Fahad's a little bit later. Hey, Fahad popped up on the stream last night as well. He came in with a huge super chat. Now back-to-back streams. That is awesome. Yeah, Fahad is the man. Primetime said it in the chat, man. Fahad, you are the man. You and Paul Hamilton. You guys are like the brothers of destruction. You know that? Naughty delicious chicken with flavor, nuclear heat. This chicken here would rather watch Latino World Order over the Blackpool Combat Club. LWO, man, I'm telling you, their merch. Highest selling merch in the company right now. When Bad Bunny put that t-shirt on Smackdown last night, it probably sold about 10,000 shirts right there alone. It also says the drone shots during WWE's time in San Juan were fired. I love those drone shots. They had that tonight again, like they did for SmackDown. We got J Glow. Oh, it's the Quad Squad. Who is that? Vince, Shane, Nash, and Triple H. Yes, it is the Quad Squad. It's my favorite faction. J-Glow, thank you for the $9.99. I am so tired of this bloodline crap. As long as the unholy trinity of McMahon, Hayes, and Pritchard are running creative, WWE will always be a place where dreams go to die and heels always go over. Thomas with the $5 says, was happy to see Savio, but it is sad what the business did to him where he could barely walk. Io Sky showed the world she is, well, who she is. And you better recognize. Well, unfortunately, that's the life of a professional wrestler. A lot of professional wrestlers end up walking funny at the end of their careers. Especially Savio. I mean, Savio's been doing this. How long has Savio been active for? Probably 5 decades, right? 4 or 5 decades? It's a long time. The human body was not meant to take the kind of abuse that the pro wrestling brotherhood and sisterhood takes. James Cooper, this felt like an old takeover show. Crowd certainly did. Down bad. Don't let this great show distract you from the fact that Cody should have won at WrestleMania. Oh, believe me, it does not distract me at all. I'm well aware of that fact every single day that goes by. CMJ World, Bet Jericho takes credit for Bad Bunny's sing-along. The Undertaker, 2024. Can we all take a minute and appreciate Bailey's pants tonight? My God, that is a 10 out of 10 show right there. Easy there, big fella. Has enjoyed the pay-per-view, not so much the main event. Storm Stop with the $10. Okay, so in the chat, I'm seeing that Savio debuted in 1985. Wow. So there you go, man. I mean, that's almost 40 years. He's lucky he's able to walk at all. Storm Stop, very enjoyable tonight. Love the energy and the atmosphere my Hispanic cousins in Puerto Rico provided for us. Hoping WWE considers a pay-per-view in Mexico. Te amo mucho, Puerto Rico. Where would they do it if they went to Mexico? Right? Is it AAA that owns Arena Mexico? Maybe they could work out a deal. Maybe WWE can do a show from Arena Mexico. Anderson Blitz, Backlash 2023 equals why I am proud to be Hispanic. Red Emissary of Darkness, I give up on who beats Roman. I would rather have diarrhea. Well, actually, I misread that. He said, I rather diarrhea. So I don't know if he's saying I would rather have diarrhea or I would rather diarrhea beat Roman Reigns. I mean, that would have to be a pretty bad case of diarrhea for him to forfeit the championship. Like, that would have to be, I mean, shit, that would have to be, like, explosive. Like, non-stop. Daddy, what a way, by the way, for that title reign to come to an end. Daddy Warbucks with the $25. That's the Brie mode. Excellent show, hot crowd. I only saw up to the Bad Bunny match, but from what I saw, it was excellent. I suspended disbelief and wanted Zelina to win, a la Sami in Montreal. Io Sky over like Rover. Savio with the Quang strikes. Ah, yes. Good old Quang. Paul Hamilton. I know it's delayed here, but I gotta give Paul the S. How can I not? Come on. The least I can do for his $200 bomb. Uh-oh. It's Bushwhacker Solo. Freak. Paul Hamilton says, great artists and performers plus great fans equals awesome show from the Portland pop star. Indeed it was. Indeed it was a very awesome show. Thank you, Paul. Rodimus Prime with the $10. Fantastic show with a live crowd. I enjoyed it overall. That street fight was great. Match of the year contender in my opinion. Slim Yoshi with the $10. So is it safe to call this the greatest Backlash of all time? Also, cannot wait for Io to eventually win the women's title in the future. That won't be tonight, but it will happen. This year or next. I believe you are correct. It will happen. It will happen once she is free and clear of damage control. Greatest Backlash of all time. I mean, it's up there with Backlash 2000 was always my favorite Backlash pay-per-view. So it's certainly up there. It's definitely in the conversation. Roger Rubio. Shout out to Bailey for all of her work since her return from injury. Damage control hasn't been the best. It could have been booking wise, but hoping they have a kick-ass feud in the split. The real CS02. I knew there was going to be blood in the main event, but not who I thought was going to get busted open. Yeah, you and me both. I thought there would be blood, and I thought that it would be Cody. I thought his blonde hair would be bright red. Mr. 201 with a $10 super chat. Do you think that they are going to rename the women's title? Raw women's title to the women's world title and the SmackDown women's title to the WWE Women's Championship. Love the podcast and the streams. I mean, it's either they rename them or we get another belt swap. I would rather they just rename them. Problem is, the SmackDown belt is blue and the Raw belt is red, so you still have that issue. Either way, the belts are going to have to get swapped. So either way, we're getting a belt swap. Cameron Spencer, I'm late, no notification. I think a heel should win the new title and Rollins should chase. Who would you pick? Omos? No. Corbin? No. Or Lashley to win? Lashley is not a heel. Lashley should have a match or a program with Roman Reigns. But I guess what you're saying is that Lashley wins, and then he would get transferred back to Raw. And Lashley would get a run with the World Heavyweight title. I'm not opposed. Not opposed to that. You know, but him being drafted to SmackDown just to move him back to Raw is kind of clumsy to me. I mean, you could do it. But definitely not Corbin, definitely not Omos. you imagine Corbin? You're trying to establish this new world championship. You're going to go with a guy who went undrafted because he sucks, who hasn't won a match in months. You're going to put your world heavyweight title on him? Why don't you just burn the title right now? How about that? Why don't you just set fire to the fucking thing? Come on, Cameron. Prime time with the $50 super chat. Man, this crowd tonight on the stream is going wild too, just like it was in San Juan. Primetime, thank you. Amazing crowd tonight. That was fun. Which cities are your top 3 in terms of crowd enthusiasm? Also, what city or country would you like to watch a wrestling show at? Well, I mean, if you're talking about just watching it on like pay-per-view, I think, you know, they're going to all these places, and logistically it may be difficult to do a live show, but I think you pick a big stadium in Australia somewhere. I think the Aussies also, man, those people are nuts. I think the UK fans are crazy. I think that would be fun, having a pay-per-view down there. As far as top wrestling cities, look, I have to consider San Juan, don't I? You know, after tonight. Chicago has to be on the list. Toronto, I would have... I think of Chicago, I think of Toronto. As far as what I would have at number 3, well, I guess the UK. I mean, I guess London, probably. Not necessarily in that order, but I would go Chicago, Toronto, and London. Might be my top 3. Mr. AJ All Day. Thank you, Solo. Match of the night for me was Bianca versus Io. I see Cody going into the tournament and Brock costing him to get to the rematch in Saudi Arabia. So that way he doesn't go to the finals. I could see that. I could definitely see that. Or he's in one of the triple threat matches, I guess, and Brock shows up, F5s him or something. Yeah, I think that's possible. You know, we were talking about this last night when I did the predictions, and one way that they could have had Cody not be a part of this tournament, and it would have made sense, is if he came out of the match tonight in such a way physically where, you know, he missed the show on Monday. You know, he was in a war with Brock. He got his ass kicked. So he wasn't medically cleared. He couldn't be there to participate. But Cody looked fine tonight. Brock was the one who was bleeding all over the place. So can't really use that as an excuse. Otherwise, I mean, I guess he'll probably be in one of those triple threat matches. It wouldn't really make sense, I guess, for him not to be. Daddy Warbucks with the $35 Seth Rollins super chat. I owe you an apology, Solo. I assume that you were going to be a fuddy-duddy and be critical of the show. I gotta give Omos credit because big men are limited as to what they can do. Also, Bayley has real nice quality. She does. That seems to be the consensus. Terrence Toussaint with the $9.99. Rollins and Solo should be the finals of the World Heavyweight Title Tournament. When Solo loses, the Bloodline Civil War commences, especially if the Usos cost Solo the match. I like it. EJ Slemp, to your knowledge, has a lucha company ever run a show at Estadio Azteca in Mexico City? I'm predicting WWE will run a show there in the next few years. I don't know offhand if they have run that or not. But, you know, the way the WWE is running all of these international shows, it's only a matter of time, I think, before they go down there. Juan Ocampo, the chancla is the most feared weapon as a child. I've heard that from a few people. I guess you have to have really good aim, though, right? Your mother has to have really good aim if she's going to hit you. Jazz Jackrabbit, great show. Bunny match. It's funny coming from the guy, the name Jackrabbit. Bunny match should have main evented. It was so fun to watch. And a Quang return equals automatic show closer. Was happy to see Savio. I still remember when Savio debuted. You know, they kind of portrayed him as like a fan out of the crowd trying to save Razor Ramon from an attack. And God, what was that? 95, probably 1995. Wapatapa with the $2. Do you think Triple H will continue the era of the millennial? Will continue to era the millennial? I don't know what that means. I'm not sure what that means. We are in the age of the millennial right now. I don't know what that has to do with Triple H. Boomerang. I hope we get more pay-per-views in Puerto Rico in the future instead of waiting another 18 years. Love the Bad Bunny match and Carlito showing up. Turtlehead. Did this make up for how they did Zelina on 9/11? No, I mean, it doesn't make up for it. I mean, that was just a shitty thing that happened. One doesn't have anything to do with the other. I don't look at it as it making up for it. It's just, she finally had her moment. She hasn't had very many of them on the main roster, certainly, and she finally had her moment here. Trill Mexican 305. Solo, I would rather take a bar of soap to the mouth than a chancla. Those are deadly as hell. Growing up in a Mexican household, I got that when I got in trouble as a kid and suffer from PTSD from it today. I can picture you as you're walking down the street, you see someone wearing flip-flops, you just sort of lapse into some sort of catatonic state. Boy, these apparently these chanclas are really deadly. I didn't know about this until recently. Daniel Malcolm, brother Cody got retribution for Kofi, Big E, Bob, and Omos. Well, Cody did solve racism, so it kind of makes sense. Jeremy Watley, I listened to your interview with Chris Van Vliet. It was a great listen, and it was great to hear your backstory and learn how the podcast began. Jeremy, thank you. I enjoyed doing that interview. That was probably, was it 2 years ago now? I don't know if it was a year and a half ago, 2 years ago when I did the interview with Chris. Chris is great. I think Chris is the best interviewer that there is, frankly, in the community right now, and he's a good dude, and I'm glad that you enjoyed it. It took a while for us to finally get together and do it, even though it was over, we did it over the web, but yeah, check that out if you didn't see the interview. It's not recent, but we finally had the chance to talk, and we talked about how the podcast started 15 years ago and all kinds of stuff. MH Nova, Solo the Monster. Yeah. I see we have a Sound Off Gamer fan here. More unbreakable record. Savage, his 4 wins at WrestleMania 4, or Undertaker's streak. AW Music's YouTube put Cody's Kingdom Symphony remix on private. Well, that sounds petty. Unless there's some sort of rights reason for them doing that. More unbreakable record is Undertaker. The streak. Come on. That was over a period of how many years? It's a streak that will never be topped. There will never be another streak booked like that over that long of a period of time. Blank from FF with the $4.99. Why can't they make Raw half as good as these PLE shows? They have been excellent. Dev to Dust. I've abandoned my child. I've abandoned my child. I've abandoned my boy. Give me the blood. Pharaoh's perspective on wrestling with $1.99. Need to know Peacock Plus build up to Rollins versus Omos. Is that what I need? Not the 4 weeks of television that preceded this fucking show? I gotta watch Peacock Plus? Yeah, I don't think so. And I have Peacock Plus too, by the way. I stepped away before that match started. Fahad with the $120 super chat bomb. Great show and crowd tonight. Hopefully the crowd in Saudi will be at least half as good. We should hope. I certainly hope so. going to be tough to beat. Hey, Fahad, thank you, man. I appreciate that. Blank from FF, the $4.99. Was Brock bleeding necessary? His face was red enough as it was before. It doesn't take very long. You just give it a few minutes, and usually in his matches, Brock looks purple anyway. Was it necessary? No, it wasn't. It really wasn't. Given the way they did the finish, it was completely unnecessary. And if they're going to do a rematch, I would have saved it for the rematch. But maybe the plan is for Cody to bleed in the rematch instead of Brock. You know, after all, they may not think that Cody has faced enough adversity yet. Yeah. Aussie of Steel. I feel like we're in the same position that we were in at this time last year with the Bloodline before the Sami stuff began. Yeah, I mean, I feel like the story has peaked. I think it was a mistake to not put the belt on Cody, and I feel like the Bloodline story, now that Sami and Owens, again, they've been drafted to a different brand, so there's going to be a separation there. That was the peak of the story, and now it's kind of the slow descent of the Bloodline as the cracks begin to form. Daniel Malcolm feeling the shirt solo. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Dallas with the $2. LWO equals money. WWE needs to keep this group strong. I mean, I don't know how strong they're being kept. They lose every fucking match. Santos Escobar can't win a match to save his life. Red Emissary of Darkness. Bigger WrestleMania mistake, Booker losing or Cody losing? I mean, Booker losing was just, in the context of the story they were telling with him, was incredibly stupid. But that wasn't even the main event on that show. So I have to go Cody. Jazz Jackrabbit, we need a Photoshop of Bloody Brock's and the Rubber Chicken. The Real CSO2, you may not have liked the main event. I personally did. Keep up the great work. Well, I'm glad you enjoyed it. I assume that's an L and not an I. L with the $1.99 super chat. PLE in Mexico, Estadio Azteca, Mexico City. What's the capacity? How many people does it fit? Devin from NJ, if I get arrested, I want Solo Bane as my lawyer. We'll see what we can do. All right, Devin, thank you very much. Hopefully you will not get arrested. Deontay Soigné. It's your favorite Sky Blue fan here. Says a fun show and even better guy to talk about it. All love, brother. Awesome shirt, by the way. Hey, Deontay, thank you very much. I appreciate that. Vanilla Gorilla with the $10 super chat. So my son said he challenges you to a street fight for the solo belt behind you. Ah, yes, the Solomonster Championship is on the wall tonight. Says, don't mind him, he's 12 and extra spicy tonight after seeing Bad Bunny. I sent him to bed for his arrogance. Good. You know what you should do? You should hit him with a chancla. That's what you should do. That'll teach him a lesson. Thunder Force 2000, are WWE and AEW waiting to see who blinks first with their dominant champions in Roman and Jade losing their championships? No, I don't think they give a shit. I think that Tony Khan is waiting for Chris Statlander to come back. And I think that WWE is going to keep the championships on Roman until he decides to retire, or until he has that explosive diarrhea we talked about that simply cannot be stopped. So. Manuel, are you ready for Roman's title run to end, or would you rather have it continue? How much longer do you think they can drag it out before it gets stale? Some people would say it's already stale. I think you go to SummerSlam and you do the title change there with Cody. But as far as how long can they drag it out for, they can drag it out as long as they want. They can go to WrestleMania 40 if they want to. They can go to next fall. They may want him to break Hogan's record. That's September of 2024. There's no telling how long he's going to be champion for. It's me. You do it at SummerSlam. That's it. He's going to hit 1,000 days. You'll have to put that in the record books. He's going to pass Pedro Morales in the record books. That's good enough. I don't know about you. I care more about how interesting are they able to keep these matches? How interesting can they keep the storyline? I don't give a shit about records. I don't give a shit about how many days he's been champion. I don't care about that. It has no effect on me. In terms of the story, you get to a point where it makes sense to change the title. Whether he's been champion for 1,000 days, or he's been champion for 999 days, or he's been champion for 1,500 days. Doesn't matter to me. Edwin Garcia. Glad they had a shot of the U.S. flag next to the Puerto Rican flag. Sucks having to explain that you're not an immigrant. You were born in Puerto Rico in the U.S. Well, I can see how that would be frustrating. There were a lot of people I saw even tonight who were saying, talking about this being an international show. I made that mistake at the beginning when they first announced the show was coming to Puerto Rico. But there were still people saying, oh, it's great. The WWE is having an international show. And then it sparked this whole flame war online about, Puerto Rico, and people take that very seriously. Edwin, though, thank you. Jazz Jackrabbit, to be clear, I am not related to Bad Bunny. My legal name is actually Substandard Rabbit. Well, you should have a little more self-confidence than that. Maybe Satisfactory Rabbit, maybe, instead of Substandard. Brandon Vasquez. These bar of soap references remind me of when John Cena made Paul Heyman eat a bar of soap on SmackDown years ago. I have no memory of that. I actually don't remember that at all. I'm sure I watched it. I just don't remember it. Wapatapa. Which PLE would you prefer to see in autocorrect? Well, Backlash. Backlash could be auto-corrected in a lot of different ways. Could be Blacklash. Could be Backstab. I mean, this which pay-per-view would I like to see auto-corrected? SummerSlam could be Summer. What could you call SummerSlam if not SummerSlam? Summerfest, I guess, right? Like Jeremy Piven did all those years ago? I don't know. The Carlosis, not the biggest fan of the Samoan Spike. Do you think Solo needs a new finish before he tries to step into Roman's shoes? I mean, it's an easy thing for him to hit. It's one of those finishes that you can hit on anybody, no matter how big or small they are. He does it because WWE asked him to do it. I just talked about this the other night. The whole tribute to Umaga thing was not his idea. It was the company asking him, would you want to take over the Spike and tape the thumb like Umaga did? And he was, my sense is that he wasn't, initially he was kind of skittish about doing it, but, in NXT, he was doing his own thing. So I think it's just more, this is what the company wants him to do. Daddy Warbucks, do you notice that Rhea has JD tatted on her face? Yeah, she's had, it's for the Judgment Day. She's had that on her face now for months. It's not a new thing. And Silver Tower, imagine Solo Bane lawyer in My Cousin Vinny. It's a great movie. My Cousin Vinny, it's a fantastic film. Love Joe Pesci. Thank you for the super chats, man. You guys were bringing the heat tonight. It was hot in Puerto Rico. It was hot on this stream here. But you see those two guys on your screen right there? Those guys stole the show. Damian Priest and Bad Bunny, they had the match of the night. And if I had to say what was the second best match of the night, it would be Bianca Belair and Io Sky. Those are the two best matches on the show tonight, in that order. Bad Bunny and Damian Priest, and then the Raw Women's Championship match. And that's coming off the very good match that Bianca had with Asuka at WrestleMania. Charlotte and Rhea was better, but both women's title matches at WrestleMania this year I thought were excellent. So Bianca's on a little run of her own right now. So anyway, we smashed the likes goal, and I want to thank all of you for doing so. The goal tonight was 500, and we are just shy of 700. And Paul Hamilton earlier, I know that he gifted 10 memberships to people on this channel. Bobby's World just gifted one. A bunch of other people gifted as well. I don't have it in front of me right now. But Paul, between the 10 memberships and the $200 bomb, man, you are the man. I don't know what else to say. You have had me at a loss for words here. Daddy Warbuck says maybe Jordan Devlin McDonough also. Is it autocorrect? I guess maybe. Jeremy Watley, LWO is hot now. Do you think LWO will turn on Ray? Not now, they shouldn't. You got a hot faction that's selling merch? The last thing you do is have them turn on Ray. Eventually they could turn on Ray, then we can get Escobar and Mysterio. But now is not the time to be doing that. That would be nuts. Yeah, that would be crazy. Nicholas Jacobs has been a channel member for 3 months. Wants to know if I would be opposed to having a WrestleMania in the UK in a few years. Am I opposed to it? I'm not opposed to it. No, I'm not opposed to that. You know why I'm not opposed to that? I'm not opposed to that because it would make my life a lot easier when I go live on YouTube when the show is over, because the show would be airing in the afternoon. That way I wouldn't be going to bed at 4 o'clock in the morning. So I would love it. I would love it. I am in support of that. Let's get WrestleMania to the UK. And MH Nova, why is Lashley's finish still called the Hurt Lock? Well, it's the last remnant of the Hurt business. He's still hoping that maybe they'll bring it back, even though it's pretty clear at this point they're not going to do that. And Groovy Goose has a super chat coming in at $4.99. Now with the Puerto Rico show out of the way, WWE technically conquered one more territory. Thanks for the stream. You're very welcome. What time would a UK WrestleMania air? Well, I mean, you tell me. I mean, the UK is what, 6 hours ahead of us here on the East Coast? 5 or 6 hours? So, All In. We still don't know exactly where All In is going to air. I still think it'll end up on Max, on the HBO Max streaming service. But the belief is that it's probably going to air at like 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock in the afternoon, East Coast time. So basically it would be a local start time of about 8 p.m. And that's perfect. So here on the East Coast, if it starts at, let's say, 2, let's say 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And if, you know, each night of WrestleMania ends up being 3.5 to 4 hours, that's reasonable, you know? So that's probably when it would air, I would imagine. It would probably, which is why WrestleMania has not come to the UK, because it would be a midday start. The Rock versus Sting. Awesome show tonight. Do you think with Damian Priest's performance, putting on an entertaining main event against Bad Bunny, will it be a boost towards him being a future world champion? Oh, yeah. I mean, it certainly won't hurt. Again, it was a great level of trust that they put in him to be in that position. And then he went out there and he delivered. You know, if he had gone out there and they put on a stinker, if things went sideways, yeah, he probably would have gotten the blame for that. But they went out there, man, and they fucking kicked ass. They had a tremendous match. And he has proven that he can hold his own in there as a top heel. And I think he could be a top babyface, too. But I'm enjoying what they're doing with the Judgment Day. I would hate for them to, you know, split them up anytime soon. So the potential is there. The only thing working against him is age. I want to say he's 40 or 40-ish. And you got a lot of guys on that roster who are older than him. I mean, Bobby Lashley is like 46 or 47. Sheamus is 45. It's not like when you hit 40, all of a sudden, you can't be the champion. But for somebody who's never been in that position before, the older you get, your chances diminish. I look at a guy like LA Knight getting jobbed out on television. The guy's 40. I'm like, what are you waiting for? The guy could be a contender right now. You should be building him right now. What are you jobbing him out on television for? He's not a rookie starting out where you have plenty of time. So I think the age thing works against him. But yeah, there's no reason to think he can't be a champion one day. I don't see why. I don't see why not. All right, it's time to be the booker.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is now time to be the booker.
Speak of the devil. There they are. There's the Judgment Day. Look how happy they are. There's Damian Priest. The man of the hour tonight, him and Bad Bunny. So, for those of you who are new here and don't know what Be the Booker is, it's very simple. It is a random generator for the men and the women, and the tag teams that I have created myself. We take it for a spin and we see what matches we can randomly book. Here on this stream, it's just that simple. Let me see all those Be the Booker emojis in the chat from all of our members. Let's kick things off here with The Undertaker. This is the real Undertaker. This is the Undertaker that I grew up on. This is Gray Glove Undertaker. I will always have a soft spot in my heart for Gray Glove Undertaker, even though his matches were largely shit. But it worked. Back then, for that era, at that time, that character, it worked. Today, that character having those kinds of matches would not work as well. He would go on to have much better matches, but I love the original Undertaker, and he will be stepping into the ring with Mr. Brody Lee. Former TNT champion. That would have been a tremendous match. Now I am sad. The original Undertaker against Mr. Brody Lee. May he rest in peace. That would have been a great match. Even like a late stage Undertaker against Brody Lee, that would have been great. On the women's side, we begin with Candice Michelle, the former WWE Women's Champion. Well, no, was she the Women's Champion or the Divas Champion? I guess it still would have been the Women's Champion back then, yeah. When did they introduce that Divas title? I don't remember what year they introduced that belt. Candice Michelle, she's another one who, pretty face, they hired her for her looks, had never done this before. I actually thought by the end there she had improved, noticeably improved, and she wasn't bad. I still remember that horrible concussion that she suffered. Ugh, it was one of the more brutal injuries we've had on Raw. Forgot who she was in the ring with, but who was she in the ring with that night when she got hurt? And whoever it was, they were dragging her around, and it's like, what are you doing? Like, this woman just suffered a serious head injury, and she's just being dragged, and yeah, I don't remember who it was. But anyway, Candice Michelle is going to be getting into the ring with Trish Stratus. I was going to make the comparison too, because Trish is another one who started out pretty face, pretty everything. She was there for her look. She was there for her sex appeal. And she ended up becoming a Hall of Famer. Candice Michelle could have been on her way to that, possibly. We'll never know, because her run came to an end, but I think they could have had a pretty good match. I give that the bell. I think that could have been pretty decent. Flip on over to the tag team side. 2 for 2. I want to go 3 for 3, man. We had a great pay-per-view tonight. I want to have a great Be the Booker. That's what I want. Kick things off with Kane and X-Pac. Always liked Kane and X-Pac. X-Pac was my favorite tag team partner of Kane's. He's right up there with The Undertaker. I always like that team. Kane and X-Pac are going to be taking on the Faces of Fear, Meng and the Barbarian. If no other reason, I am afraid to give Haku anything but the bell for fear of what he might do to me. And I'm not stupid enough to piss off Haku or Meng or whatever you want to call him. So that's an easy bell right there. That means we have gone 3 for 3 in Be the Booker tonight, and that is what I like to see. That is what I like to see right there. The Faces of Fear against Kane and X-Pac. That is an interesting match. Those guys are old school. That's what those guys are. Man. All right, well, I think I have covered all of your super chats. So Solomonster fears Haku. You bet your fucking ass Solomonster fears Haku. And you should too. You know what's good for you. But we covered the pay-per-view. I think we did a good job of covering all the important angles from top to bottom, the good, the bad. Thankfully, there was no ugly on the show tonight. This was an excellent pay-per-view, and you guys seem to agree based on the nearly 2,000 of you that have voted so far on Twitter. 92%. It's holding firm. Only 7.5% thumbs down. This was an excellent show tonight. Wish they could all be like this. That's what I wish. Well, with any luck, Night of Champions will be. That'll be the next pay-per-view coming up a little bit later on this month. That'll be on Saturday, May 27th. That'll be midday because that show probably is a noon start, right? Noon or 1 p.m. Eastern. So that's coming up later on in the month. Sound Off episode 807 drops tomorrow on all the usual audio platforms. We have a lot to cover, from Backlash to the draft to the World Heavyweight Title Tournament. We're going to talk about AEW and these Wembley Stadium ticket sales, which have been just unbelievable. Trinity speaks out for the first time on why she left WWE. So there's a lot of stuff to get into. To definitely make sure you tune into the podcast tomorrow. If you missed any of the other streams this week, Raw, Dynamite, Smackdown, all that good stuff, it's up here on the channel. Also, brand new episode 5, went up several days ago of Sound Off Gamer. So please go ahead and check that out as well. And if you want to become a channel member, remember, they are always open. You can become a member of our little green world order. Access to emojis, early access to special features, it's all there. If you want to consider becoming a channel member, and there it is. The latest installment of Sound Off Gamer. My luck might just possibly be turning. One can only hope. I'll be back with you on Monday Night Live for Raw, right back here on YouTube. Until then, be well, stay safe. Thank you for all the super chats. Thank you for all the love. I'm going to try to get some sleep before the podcast tomorrow, because the work never ends, man. The work never ends. I'll see you guys back here live on Monday night on the YouTube channel. Until then, take care, guys.